At last, the Gregory party have escaped from the magic island of Euclidia. After searching around the world 14 years for her little daughter Joan, Mrs. Gregory found her on the magic island, a weird colony of brilliant though mad scientists. Mrs. Gregory's yacht was captured and held at the island with Captain Bradford, Jerry Hall, and the crew all prisoners. Then another boat with Johnson, trusted employee of Mrs. Gregory in command, attempted to rescue them, and this boat was also captured. Through the efforts of Jerry and Joan, most of the island machinery was disabled, and the party escaped just after dark. It is only a few minutes since the powerful diesel-motored cruiser swept away from the island, and Mrs. Gregory, Captain Tex Bradford, Jerry Hall, and Joan Gregory talk it over in the radio cabin.
I'm quite all right now, Mother dear.
Now, Joan, your feet are terribly cut up from climbing that concrete chute, and you're dripping wet. Please come into my cabin and put on some dry clothes.
Your mother's right, Joan. Take her in, Pat, and dress those feet a little. Then with some warm, dry clothes on, she can come back here and we'll compare notes.
That's right, Joan. You'd better go in and change your clothes.
Very well, Jerry, if you say so.
See there, Mrs. Gregory? She does just what I tell her.
I can't really blame her for that, Jerry. You and Joan certainly proved you could take care of yourselves when you got us off that mad island. Come, Joan, dear. We'll only be a moment.
Hurry back, Joan. I'll bust if we can't tell our story pretty soon.
Oh, we will hurry, Jerry.
Gee, Tex, Joan's a swell girl. I wish you could have seen her climbing up that concrete thing we had to crawl through for 50 feet.
Yes, I can see your feet now, kid. And I've got a pretty good idea what it must have been like. We'll just put a little dressing on.
Oh, my feet are all right.
Well, maybe, but they'll be mighty sore tomorrow when the excitement is all over. Now, just sit still and let me fix you up.
Oh, well, all right. Gee, but we sure saw things and did things on that funny island. Why, when we were down there, and ouch!
Thought those feet weren't sore.
Well, maybe they are. Oh, maybe they're a little tender.
Yes, I thought so. Now, I'll have this dressing on in a minute, and that salve will help a lot. Then you get into some dry clothes.
Oh, golly whiskers. I don't need any dry clothes.
Yes, you do. Now, that'll hold those feet for a while. Now, you get over there and put on that old sweater and pair of pants of mine. They may not fit any too well, but they'll be dry anyhow.
Okay, Tex. I guess that would be smart.
I'm going to try and raise Johnson and tell him we're away from the island and free to talk now. From what you and Joan said about conditions on the island, we ought to be safe from any danger of pursuit for several hours.
Well, I'll keep wrapping these pants of yours around me. Maybe I'll find some way to get them tied off so they'll stay up.
All right, son. Now I'll try for Johnson. J24Y. Calling J12C. Captain Bradford on J24Y to Johnson. Hello, Johnson. Hello, J12C. Trying to save my power. Call me if you're getting this signal. J24Y to J12C.
He doesn't answer very fast.
Well, I don't know what kind of set he's got to work with on that boat he's on now. Probably a freighter with a regular radio operator, and he'll call Johnson to the mic when he gets a chance.
Here we are again.
Yes, and do I not look nice in Mother's dress?
Oh, you're a knockout, Joan.
Oh, Jerry, you look so funny.
Oh, they're the captain's pants. He made me put them on.
Oh, they look all right, Jerry.
Yeah, they must.
Don't worry about the looks, Jerry. They're warm and dry, and if you don't have to run very fast, I guess they'll stay on.
Well, golly whiskers.
Now, Jerry, do not be angry. You look very nice to me.
And a baby?
Oh, Jerry, how often have I told you that
You are not a baby. Oh, I know.
That sounds natural.
And now that we have a few minutes with nothing to do but wait and see how far our fuel will carry us, suppose we try to straighten out some of the things which happened to us.
Well, Jerry and I can tell our experiences very quickly, but first we would like to hear what happened to you and the captain while we were down inside the island.
Yeah, when Joan and I left the yacht, you were just transferring the stuff to this boat.
Well, we completed the transfer through the holes in the hulls of the two boats and waited on the yacht until it was dark. Then we all went into the radio cabin. It was lined with Euclidean cloth, remember? It was perfectly soundproof.
Yeah, we know that. But how did you get from the yacht to this boat when the time came?
We knew that the Euclideans would have a guard on the pier watching the yacht, and we were afraid they knew that you two were down inside the island, so we tried to make it appear you were on the yacht.
They knew where Jerry and I were most of the time, though the alarm gong did ring frantically from one level to another as they tried to locate us when we were escaping.
There, Tex, didn't I tell you those bells meant they were chasing Jerry and Joan from one level to another?
Looks like you were right, Pat. Well, we knew we had to get on this boat to make our escape. And so when it was dark, we cut through the floor of the radio cabin and went down into the hold and transferred to the other boat, this boat, through those holes. Then we waited for word from you kids.
Oh, and you took the yacht radio with you down into the hold of this boat, didn't you? And those homing pigeons.
Yes, Jerry. We waited and waited. Then we heard the signal to submerge the island, and 2 Euclidean guards came aboard the yacht. Fortunately, they didn't look into any cabin or try to speak to anybody. They simply went to the rail and cut the lines which lashed the 2 boats together.
Gee, that was slick, Tex. And you were ready, listening with the radio hot, when Joan and I sent the message to Johnson from the island radio room.
Right, Jerry.
You and Mother did it all very cleverly, Captain Tex.
We only did the natural thing, dear. In fact, the only thing. We didn't have much choice about our activities. Now, you two tell us what happened to you.
Well,
when we left here, we went down inside
Hey, wait a minute. One at a time.
Oh, thank you, Jerry.
We
went down inside the island and we...
golly whiskers.
I think we'd better referee this thing, Pat.
Looks like it might expedite matters. Suppose you start, Joan.
Yes, Mother. As you know, Jerry and I had 2 of the 300-second ray guns, which I had taken from the commander when gas put the Euclideans in the laboratory to sleep. So we felt reasonably safe. But the problem was how to get down inside the island without exciting suspicion, as we knew the Euclidean guard in the voice control chamber on the surface was hearing everything we said as we walked across the island. But Jerry solved that very nicely.
How was that, Jerry?
Well, I just talked good and loud about the formula you had given me to wake these men up with, and how we had to hurry to the laboratory with it. Of course, the guard heard me, and when Joan asked for the elevator, she got it quick.
That was very quick thinking, Jerry.
Oh, Jerry was very clever, Mother.
Oh, you finally got that straightened out anyway.
Jerry. Well, then we went into the sound channel on the 5th level, where we could talk in privacy. And I showed Jerry the scale model of the island. And from it, we planned our attack on the vital parts of the power and control system.
Say, you 2 kids work just like a machine. Go on.
But just as Joan and I were ready to leave for the power rooms, one of the Euclidean guards came in. Joan fired her ray gun like she'd shot me, and I fell down. Joan sent for the guard for orders about me, and we got out of there.
And then we climbed down the ladder inside the elevator shaft to the 100-foot level.
50 feet down a dark elevator shaft?
Yes, Mother. We landed safely, however. And by using the ray on a guard, we were able to get into the power rooms and shut off the electricity and flood the power rooms. And as Jerry flooded the rooms, I took out the fuses and threw them in the water.
Great work, kids. But how about this submerging operation they just completed as we got away? How did they do that without power?
I wondered about that, Joan, and you were too busy to tell me.
The island may be submerged to a depth of 40 feet by gravity, aided by reserve emergency tanks of compressed air.
Those Euclideans certainly thought of everything. But how did you get out of the lower level after the rooms were flooded?
Well, that's where we had to climb 50 feet up the inside of a concrete and steel chute. It was like a corkscrew, but almost straight up.
And that is where we hurt our hands and feet so badly. I could never have reached the platform but for Jerry helping me.
Then we just took a chance and used a private elevator from the 5th level to the surface. And it comes up inside the control room. Joan used a ray gun to put another guard to sleep there. And we sent a message to Johnson that you heard.
It was while Jerry and I were climbing up that terrible upright tunnel that you heard most of the signals ringing as they rushed from floor to floor trying to locate us.
Gee, I hated to leave the commander in that laboratory asleep with G-47, those other Euclideans, but Joan figured she would be safe there, and when we came back to take over the island, we could rescue her. She sure did a big thing when she let herself be put to sleep so we could escape.
Yes, you bet she did. And we'll see that she's taken care of one of these days. Just as we'll take care of everybody on that island who wants to lead a decent life in our world.
I think it's only G-47 and a few of his assistants who are really criminals. The rest are merely prisoners, doing the bidding of the scientists.
That is true, Mother. The prisoner we brought from the control room is one of the scientists, however. One of the chief electrical engineers. And he is very dangerous and clever.
Gee, have you got him locked up good, Tex?
Locked up and guarded. The skipper and McLeod will handle him without any trouble.
Well, that is the end of our story, I think, Captain.
No, it isn't, Joan. It's only the beginning. We've got to know a lot about that island before we consider ourselves safely away.
Yes, Joan, dear. For one thing, how long will the island remain submerged and more or less helpless?
That will depend greatly on how long the captain's formula will keep them asleep.
What if help doesn't arrive right away? I mean, what if we're without fuel and have to depend on what little way we can make with our makeshift sail? How much time will we have before the Euclideans will send a submarine or an airplane out after us?
I think not later than daylight, even with most of the scientists asleep.
Can they pump out those lower chambers and raise the island again that soon?
Oh, yes, Captain. If any of the men left active understand it, and they undoubtedly will. You see, they carry enough reserve compressed air to drive the water out, and raise the island without any electricity.
Golly, Whiskers. Then we may not be doing so good after all.
Johnson to J24Y.
Quiet, everybody, now. Hello, Johnson. Bradford. We're safely off the island, but short of fuel. Go ahead.
Running for Los Angeles. Our fuel supply nearly exhausted. Left a lighted buoy on your course. We'll rush other aid as soon as possible. Give further news later. That's all. Hold your set on 6 meters. Better for this receiver. Sorry. That's all.
Gee, he's not much help.
Oh, Mother, what will we do now?
Now, steady, kids, till I work this out. Johnson said 6 meters. He knows this set it weak at 6 meters. Something.
Text. Code. Try every 6th letter. The 6 is with some good reason.
Right, Pat. Every 6th letter. Fuel. Buoy. Other. Farther.
Gee, that means he left a lighted buoy on our course with an oil drum tied to it.
And that other father means he's leaving lighted oil drums all along our course.
Oh, that Johnson is a wonderful man.
You bet he is. And we'll be a lot of miles from Euclidia at daylight.
The Gregory boat is nearly 50 miles from the Magic Island. It is after 9 o'clock at night, with the warm, sluggish darkness of the subtropics hanging over the water, as the big diesel-motored cruiser plows steadily northward toward the regular steamer lanes and California. The escape from the island was entirely successful, but the Gregory boat is short of fuel, and those on board have no guarantee as to their margin of safety before the Euclidean scientists on the island repair the damage done by Jerry and Joan and set out after the boat. Mrs. Gregory and her daughter Joan are in the radio cabin, listening constantly for a message from Johnson, who is speeding through the South Pacific somewhere ahead of them. Captain Bradford and Jerry are standing in the pilot house on the boat, watching carefully for any sign of light on their course.
How much farther can we go on the oil we got, Tex?
Not very far, kid. I'd say 5 miles to most.
Gee, are you sure about that code message of Johnson's?
Couldn't miss it, Jerry. Johnson said he'd leave a trail of oil drums with lighted buoys on his course. He wasn't further than this when he dropped the first one according to his message.
Then we ought to see it pretty soon, if it hasn't been carried away off the course.
No, not much danger of that. There's no wind, and I've been setting our course to compensate for what little drift there is.
Just the same, I'm getting kind of worried. We couldn't do any more than hold her on a course with the little breeze we got.
I know it, Jerry, but we'll just have to hang on and see what happens. Then if we do run out and haven't picked up the drum, we'll simply have to radio Johnson and ask him to turn that boat around and come after us.
But his boat's on a scheduled run, and they've lost a lot of time over us already.
True, but they'll come back if they have to. Of course, it's better for us if they don't, as Johnson is getting nearer a regular steamer lane all the time. And if he can catch a fast mail boat to Los Angeles, I can get in there and get busy on my formula.
But if we get fuel enough, we can make better time on this boat than anything on the ocean. Why wouldn't it be better for them to wait for us and load us with fuel than let us tear on into Los Angeles?
Well, you see, Jerry, well, I didn't want to alarm Pat and Joan with this, but Johnson's playing smart in more ways than one. He's got a mighty good idea of the sort of thing we've been up against. And he's afraid we'll still get caught and dragged back to that island. And if that happens, he wants to be free to go on into Los Angeles, get that formula compounded, come back to do a real job of wiping out that island.
Oh, gee. Do you think there's any real danger of us getting caught before we get far enough away from the Magic Island?
Yes, Jerry, I do. We saw enough things there to warn us that almost anything is possible where G47 and his men are concerned.
Yeah, I guess that's right, all right. Maybe even Johnson hasn't got as much chance of getting away as he thinks he has.
Why not?
Well, we had the Euclideans thinking Johnson was on board this boat. But in the last hour, we've been sending messages to him. And G47 will know where Johnson is.
No, not exactly, he won't. You notice that Johnson refuses to even tell us what his position is. Though the instruments on the island would register his exact course from the island, I don't think they could even guess how far he may be along that course. They don't know the power of the set he's using.
Oh, golly, Tex, this is the most mixed-up thing I ever heard of.
Captain.
Yes, Skipper, what is it?
Light.
Gee, Tex, a light. Let's go see what it's all about.
Where away, Skipper?
Starboard.
Off the beam?
Aye.
Hey, I don't see anything out there.
Oh, wait a minute now, wait. I do. Yes, that's it. Signal the engine room for half speed. Throw that wheel hard over. That's a lighted buoy on an oil drum we've got to pick up.
Aye.
Hey, Tex, where you going?
Into the cabin. Come on, kid, we'll do a little figuring.
Are we changing our course, Tex? I heard the engine room telegraph.
Yes, we're circling to pick up the first of the drums of oil Johnson dropped for us.
Oh, you have seen the lighted buoy, then?
Oh, no. The skipper saw it. You know, that old guy may not talk much, but he navigates with his eyes open.
You're right, Jerry. That's why the skipper is so valuable.
Now we've got to do a little scout practice on the chart here and see why that buoy should be so far off our course.
Hey, the motors have stopped. We must be getting ready to pick up that oil drum.
Sounded to me more like we've run out of fuel.
Yes, that's about it. Run out on deck, will you, Jerry, and help McLeod and the skipper haul that drum aboard? You may have to rig up a little canvas, too, to reach it if the fuel's going.
Aye, aye, Cap. Come on, Joan.
Oh, may I, Mother?
Of course, dear. Stop in my cabin and put on a heavy sweater, though. You've had enough exposure.
Oh, but it's warm out on deck, Mother.
You come on and do what your mother says.
Yes, Jerry, of course.
You've got something on your mind. Tex, what is it?
Well, I don't like that running out of fuel, for one thing, and that drum being so far off our course for another. We're not out of the woods yet, Pat.
But Johnson's last message sounded confident enough.
Yes, I know, but, well, Pat, I wasn't going to tell you.
Yes, Tex?
And I told Jerry not to discuss it in front of you, but things lack a whole lot of being perfect for our getting away safely.
I know there's a certain element of danger, Tex, but after what we've been through on that island...
Exactly, dear. After what we've been through on that island, we don't want any more of it.
You don't think there's much chance of those Euclideans being able to stop us now, do you?
Well, we're only 50 miles from the island. If those chemists wake up while we're within striking distance, or if the remaining guards can manage to get that submerged island drained out and raised, well, they're coming after us.
Then, if you think things are that dangerous, why not send a hurry-up call to Johnson, have that boat put about, and run back for us?
Yes, that's what Jerry asked me, but it's no good. Johnson is taking chances on our picking up barely enough fuel from these buoys. And for all we know, he hasn't enough large drums aboard to dump sufficient oil out for us. Yet, in spite of all that, he keeps running away from us.
Well, I'm not sure I understand what he's doing, Tex.
I do, perfectly. He knows our danger, and he knows that even if we're caught again, he can go into Los Angeles, have my universal solvent formula compounded, and come back here with enough help to finish that island. Well, if he came back here now and was caught with us, well...
Yes, I understand.
Sorry, Pat, but it's about the way it looks to me.
Listen.
Sounded like the winch started.
Yes. They must be getting ready to pick up the oil drum.
Guess we had speed enough to carry us around to that buoy. They couldn't have rigged a sail and made it in this time.
Jerry is helping the skipper and Mr. McLeod take a drum of oil aboard, Captain Bradford.
We thought that was what the noise was, Joan.
Yes, dear. But how did we get to it so quickly?
The buoy was not as far off our course as it appeared to be. The light on it was very small and dim. It was actually not more than 100 yards away when the skipper sighted it.
It relieves my mind about more than the oil.
You mean about being off your course?
Yes, at least we know we haven't forgotten how to navigate.
How long will that amount of oil last, Captain?
I can't very well tell you until I see how large the drum is.
Oh, that was stupid of me, wasn't it?
Did you notice the size, dear?
Well, Mother, it was still hidden down in that dark water. I could not see it. And Jerry sent me in here to tell you that we had found it.
No, that's all right, Joan. We'll soon know how large it is.
I will go and find out, Captain.
Don't bother, Joan. Jerry will come in as soon as they get the engine room hatch. As soon as they get it down there. I don't hear the winch. It must be over the hatch. It won't take long. It's going below now. It's landed, and none too gently from the sound.
Well, it must have been a large drum.
I sure hope so.
How rapidly does this boat use up the fuel oil, Captain?
I'm not sure without checking with Mac, but I know one barrel won't take us very far.
Well, we got the barrel of oil in the hole, all right. Mac and the skipper are going to put it into the tank as fast as they can.
How big was it, Jerry?
Well, Mac said it looked like 55 gallons to him.
Oh, that won't take us very far, will it, Tex?
No, not very, but Johnson knows how this boat burns it, and I told him we'd be running wide open. So he should drop those things overboard for us pretty often.
Do you think it will take us long to start the boat again, Captain?
Why, getting nervous, Joan?
Yes, I am. We are so near that awful Euclidia, and they have so many powerful things with which to reach us.
Oh, but most of those guys are asleep. And the ones that aren't are busy trying to raise that island after you and I flooded the lower levels.
You can't be sure how long that gas from your formula will keep them asleep, will you, Tex?
No, that would depend on the quantity of it they mixed up. The size of the room, and how soon they were given fresh air. Oh, a lot of things. But it should last for several more hours.
And then there is the possibility of raising the island and using the submarines to chase us, or even the airplanes. None of the aviation engineers were in the gas-filled chamber. they would all be free to set out after us the moment the surface of the island cleared the water.
Oh, you can all think of the nicest things. Now, why not quit hanging crepe and agree that we're away from the island? That's something. And we've got some more fuel. That's something else. It's not going to help things to sit around here with long faces and feel sorry for ourselves.
You're right, Jerry. But after all, Joan knows all about the island. And 50 miles or 100 miles doesn't guarantee us much safety.
Well, let's quit worrying about it for the time anyway. Any minute now, the motors will start. We'll have their husky roar anyway to help us out.
Yes, Skipper?
Captain.
Come in, Skipper. Got the oil in the tanks yet?
No.
Why not? Trouble?
Aye.
Serious?
Bad.
Right with you, Skipper. Shove off. You three stay here till I get back.
Yes, Tex, we will.
Gee, I wonder what's up now.
Well, probably they can't get the oil drum open. I've seen that happen time and time before.
But surely there is some way.
Well, if there is, Tex will find it. I know those things can be dangerous, though.
In what way can they be dangerous, Jerry?
Well, there's no telling how much gas there is in one, especially if the oil doesn't fill it tight. And if you're not careful with wrenches and hammers, sometimes a spark will blow one up.
I think Tex has handled several of them. We haven't much to worry about, though our time is awfully precious right now.
It's funny we don't hear them working on it. I'm going to...
Oh, no, Jerry. Stay here. You know the captain said for us to stay here in the cabin.
But golly whiskers.
I think you should stay, Jerry. For some reason, Tex wanted you to, and his reasons are usually very good ones.
Oh, okay, Mrs. Bradford, I'm sorry. But, well, I don't like to just sit here and do nothing. I'm getting the jitters.
I, too, have the jitters, Jerry.
Oh, what was it, Tex?
Couldn't they get the oil drum open?
Captain Bradford, your face, it looks like a thundercloud.
Tex. Oh, shut that door and come in here. Now, tell us quickly, what's the matter?
That oil drum. They got it open all right.
Yes, and then what?
But we'll never run those motors on that oil.
Was it not the right kind of oil, Captain?
It wasn't oil at all. It was turpentine.
Turpentine?
Oh, Tex. Then we can't move.
No, we can't move. And we've gone just as far from